We're going to open with some wins and fails, and I want to start out with a big, massive W going to every single person who has $1.3 million or more in net worth, which is not so much, it's fine. It's like not a big deal because that is basically the net worth needed to be considered financially comfortable in a lot of major US metros. Now, it doesn't matter that the average or the median US net worth is 121,000, which is about 13 times smaller. And the reason this is the case is because of this. A big dub to landlords. Finally, a win for landlords because rent prices are growing 4 times faster than income. And the median national rent is now over $2,000. Isn't that bad for landlords because no one will be able to pay eventually? Yeah, but in the short term, it's bad for tenants who are looking around. I'm sure that won't lead to any bad outcome. But unfortunately, people like me, optimists, are apparently a rare sight in Silicon Valley because I'm going to give a big L to these Debbie Downer billionaires like Zuckerberg and Elon Musk because they are saying the complete opposite. Zuckerberg is saying, if I had to bet, I'd say this might be the worst downturn we've seen in recent history. And in fact, has dramatically cut Meta's hiring plans. They're going to hire far fewer people. They're rescinding some job offers. So Zuckerberg didn't lay anyone off, really. They just cut hiring plans. They're not going to hire as many people. Tesla took it a step further, and they're just laying off workers they just hired, which is, kind of one of the most despicable things you can do is make someone a job offer so they leave their previous job and they move oftentimes because you've required a mandatory 40 hours in office, and then you immediately lay off 10% of your workforce and fire them. So again, these guys are being a bit of a downers, and I just think, come on. How bad could it possibly be? There is a way that you can make your voice heard. A Nintendo fan just discovered it. I want to give him a big win because this Nintendo fan discovered that if you want to make your voice heard to a big corporation, all you have to do is buy $40,000 in stock to ask the Nintendo president at a shareholder meeting about reviving your favorite game, F-Zero. And I gotta be honest with you, it's actually not nearly the dumbest thing because when you think about it, there is absolutely a person that bought $80,000 of Fire Emblem mobile game gacha heroes for no gain, no stock, and no conversation. And speaking of that, I'd like to take a moment and thank the sponsor of today's Marketing Monday, Public. Public.com/Atrioc has not yet implemented the feature that I've asked for where you can put an anime girl on every single stock that you talk about. But if you want up to $300 in free stock, go to public.com/Atrioc, sign up for an account. This is the best stock trading app. This is the one I use all the time. I say that honestly for 2 reasons. One, it has a very clean, easy to use interface, but this one does not sell information on your trades to hedge funds as the primary way it makes money. It also allows you to invest in shares fractionally and has cool news articles and things about stocks that you want to trade so you can get up to date with news and information about stuff that you're interested in. If you're interested in checking it out, public.com/Atrioc, $300 in free stock. Thanks again to them for sponsoring Marketing Monday and supporting the stream. Listen, yes, things are getting more expensive, but at the end of the day, when you pay a bigger price, you get bigger quality, which is why I want to give a big dub to the men and women at Disney for this excellent, not tone deaf idea at all of offering a $5,000 Kyber crystal drink at their Star Wars resort they just opened, already exorbitantly expensive. But while you're there, get the most expensive drink in the galaxy. Imagine you just put down $5,000 for this drink. Let's see what you get, You get Nick from Disney in a polo. Really authentic.
Cheers and welcome on board the Disney Wish.
Even watching it was worth it, dude. I got chills. I felt like I was really there. This is a sign of a healthy economy. How much do I owe you for showing us this? Oh, don't worry about it. I'll pay for all your viewing fees that Disney charged me for seeing this. I want to give a big dub to a company that found an absolutely genius new way to keep that revenue flowing in. My friend had a job interview, but it turned out to be an elaborate parking scam. They make you park in a specific parking structure and charge you $30 and then give you a 10-minute BS interview. Genius! What a great way to keep the money flowing. Fake job interviews to waste prospective employees' times. Here's one thing I want to say, because when I was at Mogul Money Live, a lot of people told me they got into marketing or they were taking marketing in college because of Marketing Monday. And while that is very flattering, what I want to say is marketing is one of the majors where, not necessarily this, but there's a lot of fraudulent job applications for sure. I've never seen fake interviews, but I've seen a bunch of fake scammy, or like they're essentially direct sales, or they're multi-level marketing, or a lot of things that are around that. They get wrapped up and they get called like a cool marketing job, and it's not what they're at. So I would just say, be careful. I love door-to-door marketing where I can potentially make 6 figures despite it being direct sales for a company with no name. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they're also making money on what you do. We've been talking about some companies doing bad, some companies doing good. I want to give a shout out to some of the biggest companies in the world who, thank God, are still holding well in these difficult times. And I found this website that will show me how much money they make in profit per second. So as we are talking, Apple has made 7,000, 8,000, 10,000. But what I found more interesting about all this is not that Apple's doing well. I think we all knew that. Apple makes $150,000 a day in profit. What's funny, though, is if you scroll down on this list to the bottom, you might notice a company that's not making profit. By the end of the hour, Uber will have lost $1 million. And unless they invent self-driving cars that are mass adoptable and soon, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for investors to keep funding this money fire. Let's just be honest on this one. I know I've done this very clever thing sometimes where I'll say it's a win when it's a fail, and I'll say it's a fail when it's a win, and everyone goes, that is clever. I'm going to just be honest and say this is one of the worst brand tweets I've ever seen. EA tweeted they're a 10. By the way, incredibly late to that meme. They're a 10, but they only like playing single-player games. I can't think of a worse company to deliver this joke. This joke is already bad. You are already roasted so much for canceling great single-player games and turning previously great single-player franchises into like loot box fests. How are your tweets worse than your game? Oh, nice ratio by Donkey. Didn't even see that. This is a sincere fail, and I can't believe it's still up. Just at 4:33 p.m. End of the day, the social media manager clocks in and says, I'm going to just drop this turd and go home. Roast well-deserved. We'll take this L because playing single-player games actually makes them an 11. Whew! I was worried that was going to be cringe. 8:07 p.m. Oh, no, dude. So they got hit at the end of a workday, and then their boss probably hit them with an email. What the fuck is going on? Why am I seeing Kotaku articles about EA makes the worst tweet of all time? Dude, I've been in some situations because I remember I made the tweet single-handedly when I worked at Twitch. I made this tweet unprompted with no approval from higher-ups. How many likes? 10,000. Pretty good for the account at the time. Anyway, I dropped this tweet and this is at 1:25 p.m. I guarantee I was getting calls as late as midnight. At least 11. It went to my boss, then my boss's boss, then my boss's boss's boss. Then I was talking to like some marketing exec at Amazon who bought the company. I mean, I had to go up the chain, dude. I thought it was funny as fuck, dude. What is there to call about? It was, listen, Amazon is a customer first company. We are customer obsessed. We are not competitor obsessed. In the eyes of Amazon, we don't have competitor, the idea is we don't even mention competitors. We never even look at them. While I was scared. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to pretend like I was fucking Mr. Brave. I was like 24 at the time, 23, 24 when I made that tweet. So I wasn't like, and Amazon was calling and I was definitely like nervous, but I made my point in every single call. Every single time I was like, hey, listen, I know the community. This wasn't a mean-spirited tweet. End of the day, they just kept repeating the same line, but nobody ever said like, no, you're taking it down. So I feel pretty good about how I handled it. Bro, fail to Google, turns out. Despite the fact that they're making absolute tons of money, as we saw in that previous graph, apparently this is a real trend. A lot of people, especially younger people, are replacing Google searches with TikTok searches.
Like, why would I Google something? And I can go on TikTok, watch a 15-second video, gives me the full lowdown on how to make something, if something's good, how to use something. I get like a little visual of it, and it's literally so easy. Please tell me I'm not the only one.
Well, she's definitely not as odd as I find it, because I don't think you can actually learn much in a 15-second video on anything that I think I would Google. Now, in China, for example, there are a few key apps that are called super apps that basically have tons of different things embedded in them. So like you might, like a mixture of Uber, Venmo, Twitter, everything's in one app. And these apps are incredibly powerful. And in the West, we've haven't had that so much, mostly because of attempts to stop it by Apple and Google, who use the fact that they own the stores as a way to stop any one app from getting too powerful, because that could replace their OSs from being too powerful. And TikTok is the strongest competitor they've had to that old system, because TikTok is now becoming the one-stop source of the internet for a lot of people. It's growing very rapidly. It's competing not just with Facebook anymore, but now it's competing with YouTube, it's competing with Google, it's competing with a lot of different internet apps all at once. Originally, this show used to mention a lot more like ads. I would just look at ads and talk about how I felt about them. And so I saw 2 ads. You know how when you're scrolling through Reddit or Instagram, there'll just be a little social ad? I saw 2 ads while I was scrolling that made me stop. One of them I thought was very good. And then one of them I think is one of the worst ads that I've ever seen in the history of my career as a marketer and as someone who uses the internet. When you're talking about ads, there's like a curve, right? Where it's either really good so it's interesting, or it's really bad so it's interesting. So the worst ad you see is not the really bad one. The worst ad is the most boring. And that is what I found. I got an ad that made me stop. I scrolled past this and then I thought about it for 1 second. And I scrolled back and I was like, they literally found every single way to took anything of interest out of this ad. The brand is nothing. They say nothing of value about the product. There is no shot that any single person who saw this ad stopped, clicked it, and bought Neon Burst. There is no call to action. There's nothing unique or interesting. So here's what I thought. Maybe the idea here, maybe I should give them an actual win instead of a fail. Their idea was there has to be a guy out there who's a marketing manager at a tech company who also does a stream on the side where he talks about ads. And if we target an ad to him that's so boring that he'll stop and screenshot it, he'll play it for free and talk about it to 4,000 people. And if they thought of that, it's genius. And if they didn't, it's actually the fucking most stupid ad I've ever seen ever. On the other side, you know, you see a lot of these ads on Reddit that try to use memes, and they're usually pretty cringe. This ad, I thought was kind of good. Wow, that man looks very happy with his lunch. I wish I could be just like him. Wow, I am really enjoying this Shahi Naan and butter chicken from a Joshi Indian restaurant. I like it. I'm certainly more likely than I was before I saw the ad to, if I lived near this restaurant, to try it out. 100%. I 100% would be more likely to try it. It's authentically bad in a funny way. Unlike this one, which is incredibly boring. So I'm going to give a win to this one and a fail to this one. Call it a win or a fail. Crypto's doing terrible. NFTs continue to drop. It's not like Bitcoin has kind of held steady around 20K. NFTs continue to drop. Each month is worse than the last. Sales are less and smaller. And it got so bad, I'm just saying it's a 2-part, that Chevy, which launched their first NFT recently, offered an actual car with it. There was a free 2023 Chevrolet Corvette Z06 included with the NFT, and they could not sell it. A total of 0 bids. So things are not looking up in the NFT world. But thankfully, GameStop just opened their NFT Marketplace. Bro, can I take a quick pause? This is not a win or a fail. Please stop believing in whatever GameStop says. GameStop at this point is just saying every fucking buzzword they can to keep the stock high, while all of the actual management dumps their shares so that you buy them and eventually this thing goes back to fucking $4. GameStop launches NFT Marketplace as it hunts for growth in digital fueled turnaround. This is the desperation. This is like last moments of Radio Shack. So that's all I'd say is just be careful. Enough about wins and fails here in boring old America or the rest of the world. Let's talk about Europe. Well, first of all, the euro, the currency of most of Europe except for the UK, is down 20%, while the dollar is actually up 11%. So for the first time that I've seen, or at least in the past like 20 years, the euro and the dollar are now worth the same, which means, back to America, it's a win. If you're going on vacation in Europe, your dollar will go a lot further. The reason things are looking so bad in Europe is because they are facing 3 critical forces that have caused them to look like this. Their currency is at a 20-year low, inflation is at a 20-year high, and energy prices are skyrocketing. They are not going to be able to have, for example, air conditioning in a very hot summer. Because Russia shut off a key natural gas pipeline today. Now, they said it was for planned maintenance, but a lot of what speculation is saying is they're not going to turn it back on without concessions from Europe on a lot of the sanctions they're doing. And so this is bad because a lot of the energy that Europe gets is from Russia, and it's already a strained relationship, obviously. Europe, maybe you're not doing so well, but the UK has a solution because housing prices are still out of control. And with the value of both the British pound and the euro declining, your money doesn't go as far. Your savings don't go as far, and it can be tough to afford a house. There's a solution. 50-year mortgages that your children can inherit. So that way you could take out a 50-year loan to buy a house, and then when you die, your children can keep paying that debt. Because right now, houses are kind of unaffordable for the average person because the average home loan caps at 30 years, which requires a very high interest payment. But they can get that interest payment down to a regular monthly payment as long as you go for 50 years. So that's a big win. The 50-year mortgages are cheap. Well, the 50-year mortgages are about, I believe, 3.5, something like that, which is what the normal mortgage was about a year ago. Anyway, we'll see. It doesn't seem like a great idea, but it might be the only way for people to buy a house. That's enough about Europe, though. I want to get to an even more popular segment, and then I will close wins and fails. Sorry it's been so long. I want to get to the ever popular, you know it, you love it.
What's up, Beijing?
What's up, Beijing? Let's see what's going on in China. And let me tell you, what's going on in China is insane. There are massive bank protests and bank runs going on in China. Not even at small banks, although definitely major small banks are getting swamped. Major banks are getting swamped. People want their money out now. People are afraid they're going to lose their savings. What's happening is, I mentioned this, months ago, the collapsing of Evergrande. Remember that? With the real estate property developers in China have started to dissolve. And it turns out, as I mentioned in that video about 5-6 months ago, that was back in November actually, there is what's called contagion. It's not like Evergrande and real estate developers do bad and that's it. It turns out that major banks of China had been loaning money to property developers to build things. Unfortunately, Chinese banks made massive loans to all of these developers who are now underwater or down 90% in their stock. And they are having a liquidity crisis, which means they don't have enough money to pay out people that are trying to withdraw, which makes people scared. If you go to the bank and they don't have enough money for you to take out your money, you freak out, get on social media, talk about it, and then everyone shows up trying to get their money, and then the problem is worsened. And then they get scared and angry and, if you can't get your savings. So right now, there's chaos and panic. Realistically, the Chinese government will have to step in some way to guarantee everyone's money and smooth things over. China is going through very similar to what we went through with our real estate bubble in 2007, 2009, where there's so many spread on knock-on effects that are going to cause catastrophe that they have to kind of print money. They're just in a different stage of the cycle, dude. But that being said, I can't speak too much more about it, right? I want to tell you more about it, but there is a new law in China that requires influencers and live streamers who offer professional advice in areas such as medicine, healthcare, finance, to prove they hold qualifications. And because I cannot prove I hold qualifications in Chinese real estate, I don't want to be jailed. And that is the end of the wins and fails. Hope you enjoyed. Time to go into the Real Marketing Monday.